Whenever I'm ready.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay, so in 2012, my mother was getting an award from her company. The award ceremony was actually being held in New Orleans at a hotel called the Roosevelt. Now, a little about my mom. She actually started selling mortuaries and like funeral spaces after the company that she has been working for almost 5 years actually up and moved to Denver for the recession. Now, when people ask her what it's like to sell mortuaries and deal with death on a day-to-day basis, she kind of just like shrugs and says it's a living. The invitation was for one and a guest, and after almost like a little coercing, she kind of made me want to go. She said that it was going to be an open bar, so I said, all right, fuck it, let's do it. The day of the flight, she had some work to get done, so I decided to take a separate flight than her, and this actually kind of terrified me because although I've flown, I've actually never flown alone. And the idea of being in a room, in a flying metal box, with no one explaining to me the safety procedures that I've probably already forgotten by now, was just terrifying. So I calmed down by doing this thing that I used to do in high school. I would gauge how fun an activity would be by looking around the same room and seeing how many attractive girls there would be in that same room. And I would check them off and I would be like, all right, it's gonna be pretty fun. A lot of hot girls. This was not gonna be a fun flight. I arrived at New Orleans and I met my shuttle driver. His name was Steve. Now Steve was a man in an ill-fitting suit with the biggest Louisiana accent I've ever heard in my life. Like just imagine like a very like Matthew McConaughey kind of like, all right, what's going on, man? Like, I can't do it. But Steve, all the while, he was telling me about like the places I should go visit, the places I should avoid, definitely in New Orleans, and some of the old rich history about the buildings are very colorful. And all the while, I would just look and be in awe and just think, God damn it, that's a cool accent. I want to do that. I got to the hotel, the Roosevelt, and it was a very nice hotel. You can always tell how nice a hotel is by the amount of unnecessary lion statues it has in the lobby, and this one had plenty. The room wasn't bad either. I had a nice view of an old building that Steve had told me was actually an old converted cathedral, and although converted, people would still go there and pray sometimes. And I actually saw a man, he walked up to the building and put his hand against the building and just bowed in respect. It turns out I was a drunk guy throwing up, actually. Still religious, I think, in a way. 3 hours later, my mom showed up and she told me, all right, let's start getting ready for the banquet. Before the banquet, there was actually a little intimate meet and greet. And I didn't know what to expect. I got ready, and in the meet and greet, there was actually the biggest group of 40 and 50-year-old drunks I've ever seen in my life. Open bar. I felt a little superiority complex just knowing that I could hold my liquor better than your dad's, and that quickly went away though after, sure enough, every single time I would shake their hands, they would ask me what I did and what I studied. Well, what I did was get fired almost 2 months ago from my job. And what I studied, well, their guess was as good as mine because I had switched my majors almost 3 times last year. My mom kind of gave me a glance and I kind of felt a little ashamed. Luckily, the banquet started and the promise of free food actually enticed them more than my life choices, so we went there. And the banquet itself and the ceremony wasn't really much to speak of. I don't remember a lot of names and the places that they were talking about. But they finally called my mom, Maria Rivera, and I've never felt so proud of her in my life. Being so happy. And while she was going up there to get the award, I kind of thought, and it was a selfish thought, but I thought, will she ever be this happy of me? Will she ever be this proud of me? I looked away and took a sip of my drink just to kind of get all the bad thoughts from going away. And I looked back up and I saw her receiving the award, and she came back. Everybody at the table kind of congratulated her, and I gave her a hug because above all else, I was proud of her. But then I also gave her a kiss on the cheek. Now, little did she know that actually that kiss on the cheek meant something. It was a promise. It was a promise that I was going to be a better person, a promise that I was going to be the son that a woman like that deserves to have. Now, the flight was terrifying. New Orleans was beautiful. Steve was cool. The banquet was exquisite. But that kiss, that promise that I made to my mother that day was why that was probably the best day of my life. Thank you.